Have you ever felt a sudden wave of grief hit you years after losing a loved one? Maybe it caught you off guard. One moment you're fine, and the next you're overwhelmed with emotions. If this has happened to you, you're not alone, and there's nothing wrong with you. Grief doesn't have an expiration date. In this video, we're going to talk about why grief resurfaces, what triggers it, and how to navigate these unexpected emotions. So let's jump in and look at why grief resurfaces long after losing a loved one. It can be really surprising to many that grief can actually resurface years later, even when you think you've moved on or you healed. I've had many people ask me 10, 15 years later, why is this happening? Am I going backwards? Is something wrong with me? I feel like I'm grieving as if it just happened. Well, this is common, and it's known as resurgent grief or recurrent grief, completely normal. There are certain things that can activate bringing back waves of grief, sometimes just as intense as it was in the very beginning. This resurfacing does not mean that you're back to square one. It's actually a reflection of the love and the connection that you had with the person you lost. Grief isn't something that we get over. When it resurfaces, it's so important for you to allow yourself the grace and the space to feel it and process it, and maybe even find ways to honor your loved one. This all can be part of our continued healing. Grief isn't a one-time event. It's something that evolves with us over time. You might feel okay for years, but then something like an anniversary, a song, a smell, or even a major life change like a move can bring it all back. This resurgent grief is common and a natural part of the healing process. So let's look at some of the common triggers that can bring grief back. Before we look at the things that can activate grief, if you're benefiting from this video, be sure to like it. And if you're looking for more videos like this, subscribe. In the description below, there are additional resources, our free monthly newsletter, Mending Piece by Piece, and links to both versions of the Mending Piece by Piece workbook and journal. So now let's look at things that can activate our grief. The first trigger, anniversaries and birthdays. The day your loved one passed, their birthday, or even your own birthday can stir up emotions. It's very common for people to actually feel the anticipation of that day coming a lot worse than the day of it. The second is holidays and family gatherings. Celebrations can highlight the absence of someone you love, making that loss feel fresh again. Number 3, life milestones. Graduations, weddings, the birth of a child, moments that you wish that they were there for. Number 4, moving into a new developmental stage or life stage. This is especially true for someone who lost a loved one when they were a child. Children often grieve in spurts and can re-grieve at new developmental stages as their understanding of death and the perceptions of the world have changed. A lot of times people are unaware of this. And if you are a parent of a child who has lost somebody, it's real important to pay attention to them as they go through the different developmental stages, like going to the adolescence and maybe young adulthood and even earlier moving through. You may not notice it as crying or they're talking about their loved one. It may look like behavior changes, regression, anxiety, just stirring up different emotions. And a lot of times people are unaware that that is just them actually trying to process this grief at a different level. The 5th is unexpected reminders. That's like hearing one of their favorite songs or smelling their perfume or seeing someone that might look like them, or just a random memory that could pop in your head can actually activate grief again. The next one is major life transitions. It's a little different than the earlier one I said, moving into life stages. This we're looking at more specifics like retirement, changing a job, moving, or personal challenges that you're going through. That can reopen grief as you reflect on how your life has changed. So what can you do when grief resurfaces? First, recognize that this is completely normal. Healing isn't about erasing grief. It's about learning to carry it differently over time. It's learning how to move forward in absence of the physical presence of your loved one, but continuing to have that emotional connection and to keep their legacy and memory alive and to carry that forward with you. Number 2, acknowledge your feelings. Let yourself feel whatever comes up. Just ride the wave. Don't try to suppress your emotions or to get busy with them. That often makes those emotions just get stronger. So allow them to come out. Number 3, talk about it. Share your feelings with a friend, a therapist, or a support group. Grief is a lot lighter when it's shared. Number 4, honor their memory. Maybe light a candle, look at some old photos, write a letter to them, journal. Find ways to keep their presence in your life. Number 5, practice self-compassion. There's no back to square one. This is just another step in your journey. Grief isn't something we get over. It's something we learn to live with. And sometimes it comes back when we least expect it. But that doesn't mean that you're moving backward. It just means that the love that you had for that person still lives on. Until next time, continue mending piece by piece, one step at a time.